Bonjour, Mingwei.
Bonjour.
Welcome to this conversation. I know you're in Paris. Let me spend a few minutes to introduce you to all the audience here. Mingwei actually was born in Taiwan and grew up here until junior high, then went to the States, and then we all know that he graduated from a very well-known art school, Yale University. He got a Master of Fine Art degree from the sculpture department. By that, I was actually still not collecting art at all. But I heard that when he was only probably less than 30 of age, and he got invited to Whitney Museum for a solo show called The Dining Project there. So after that, I really start to do survey research of him, and then we become very, very close friends. And then, you know, he was invited to MoMA. He was invited to all the best museum in the world, to name a few, Metropolitan Museum of Art. He showed Sonic Blossom there only for 10 days. And I recall it is really very close to the year end. And it was listed by the New York Times, the top 10 best of the exhibition of the year. And then after that, he was invited to the Venice Biennale. Then this year, he was in the Martin Goupil's Ball. Martin Goupil's Ball is very difficult to be invited to do the solo show there. And he got a mid-career survey show there. Said that we couldn't have the chance to see the exhibition, but we can talk about that later in our conversation today. And for me, I'm Rudy Tseng. I was born here, and I was the managing director for Walt Disney International Taiwan here as a country manager for 13 years. And I take an early retirement program. I retired at the age of 48. Since then, I become a full-time collector. And I'm now sit on the board of the National Singapore Art Gallery, the Tate Museum Acquisition Committee, Moria Museum. I travel probably half of my time, you know, in the world to see the art world, to buy the art world. But this is the first time that I spend the summertime in Taiwan. So I would like to spend some time today to focus on a few questions with Mingwei. My first question to Mingwei, you got invited by the Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York, the second time. And as I mentioned, the first time is Sonic Blossom. And can you talk about that, you know, what's the difference between the first time and the second time? And especially during this COVID-19 period?
Great. Thank you so much, Rudy. Well, first of all, I want to say bonjour, good morning from Paris. And you probably heard that Paris is going down the drain because of COVID-19, but we're actually fine. Yesterday, we took a very long walk along the Seine and everyone was out with masks on. So that's actually a very good sign. So I'm very, very happy and honored to be here, especially with dear Rudy and with Fubao Foundation. Fubao has been a great supporter of contemporary art, especially the Taiwanese, and they have been a great friend and a supporter of my work. And I'm truly honored for their support for the Venice Biennale in 2017. So thank you, Rudy. Let me answer your question first. The first time I did Sonic Blossom at the Met was 2017. And the project, it's very simple. As you see in the image, there was an opera singer wearing this very beautiful gown that I call transformation gown. And she walks around the gallery to ask anyone in the gallery if they would like to have a song as a gift. So the next image is basically showing you that the singers and the receiver receiving the gift. When the singer is standing in front of her or him, and sing a Schubert lead. It's a very simple gift-giving process within 2 to 3 minutes. And the intensity of these two people is witnessed not only by the Buddhas in the room, but of all the people who were in the gallery to experience this gift. So this is the other experience, also again, Sonic Blossom in the Great Buddha Room. And the second project I did, which just finished at the Met right now, as of Wednesday, is called Our Labyrinth. This project was exhibited in online, actually. There is no real-time, real people interaction because of COVID-19. So one of the 3 galleries that I did Our Labyrinth was again in the Great Buddha Room in front of the Great Buddha. So you can tell it was the same gallery, right? But now these are dancers that takes a broom and spend an hour and a half to dance with a pile of rice. This is called Our Labyrinth because it's really about how you encounter and how you experience this 1.5 moment in a very, very intense and slow motion of moving the rice, brushing the rice, and we don't know where it's gonna go after an hour and a half. It really is between you and yourself and the rice. So this is another image to show you Our Labyrinth. This time we have the great honor and pleasure of collaborating with the iconic and legendary choreographer, Mr. Bill T. Jones and his dancers. And this is super important at this moment, mainly because of what America and the world is experiencing, the Black Lives Matters. So we this time have invited all different type of dancers, African Americans, Latino Americans, Taiwanese Americans, Liu Yiling from Taiwan. And it's really quite a fantastic experience. And again, I'm so grateful that this is supported by the Taiwan Cultural Ministry and the Taipei Economic and Cultural Center in office. So kudos to you all. Thank you.
Wow, wonderful. I know, Mingwei, your hour always offer a platform. And the story actually begin when every time you show it. And I know that, a few years ago, you have a solo show at the Moria Museum, and then the show toured back to Taipei Fine Art Museum, and then went to New Zealand, Auckland National Art Gallery. And this time in Europe, you make it again. It is in Martin Buber's book. Can you tell us what's the difference in between Martin Buber's book show and the Moria Museum show?
Yes, thank you, Rudy. So the Moria Art Show was curated by Mami Kataoka. It was 2014, and then traveled to Taipei Fine Art Museum and the kindness and generosity of Ling Ping, director, and then went to Auckland Art Gallery with Rana Davenport as the director there. We did a new project this time after 5 years, and it's a completely new project called Our Peaceable Kingdom. On top of that, because Grove Peace Palette is such a historically very, very important building, because this building was built in late 1800, and then later on became an art school, and then it was bombed by the Allies Air Force because it was the center of the Nazi military force. And then during the division of Berlin Wall, the building actually was cut in half. The front door goes into West Berlin and the back door goes to East Berlin. And then there's a wall inside of it. So it's a very fascinating place. And in the atrium, I thought this would be a perfect space to do Guernica in sand, which is a project based on Picasso's most iconic work, the Guernica. And this is a performance piece it's very much about the coexistence of destruction and creation. The next project in there, so we have 15 projects. This is called the Mending Project, which is anybody can bring a piece of cloth for the mender there to repair and mend and add embellishment for your clothing. The next project is called the Fabric of Memory. So when you come here, you can open the box and there are all these textile objects which have personal history to it. Underneath the lid, you'll be able to see and read the story and the object in the box. So there are one of this project called the Living Room Project, which again, we use and utilize and invite the local host to bring something that is of significance in their personal life and to be the living room host, meaning to be there to share the stories, the histories, the memories behind each of his or her collection. So as you can see, this work is this whole show actually was very much about memory and gift and the idea of Li Lianshi的Li, which is the idea of ritual and the idea of gift.
For Venice Biennale, actually, you just mentioned that Fubon Foundation support you because you were invited by the Central Pavilion. You show two projects there. One is Mending Project, and the other is One Beauty Visits. Can you talk a little bit more about these two projects that you did there? And after the Venice Biennale, does that really bring more exhibition opportunity for you after Venice Biennale?
Okay, thank you, Rudy. So the two projects I did for 2017 Venice Biennale, the first one is a completely new project, which is size-specific and memory-specific of Venice, at least for me. When you go into the Carlo Scarpa Garden next to the library in the proper exhibition venue called the Giardini, this is what you find, a very beautiful space with pond and ivy, very quiet in the middle of the exhibition of hundreds of other works. So there's only a single chair there. You might be thinking, what's going on here? Oh, the sky is so beautiful, the leaf is so soothing, and I can hear the seagulls. And then suddenly, someone invites you to go sit at the chair and said, I will be back in 2 to 3 minutes and just enjoy the space and it will be just for you. You're sitting there enjoying it and suddenly your host came back with a gift. The gift is actually a small little envelope. And inside the envelope, you don't know what it is because the host will tell you the time to open this gift is when you encounter your next moment of beauty. And you're thinking, my next moment of beauty, and what is beauty, and when would that happen? So there are all these questions that triggers your own idea and understanding of what beauty is, what future might bring to you, and when that encounter might be. So this is really a gift that it's quite challenging for you because even until today, almost 4 years later, there are people still with not having, basically still have not opened the gift. And often I will receive emails. Somehow, I don't know how they got to find me, maybe through the studio address, and say, I have opened the gift and this is my encounter. And those are some of the most magical moments for me. And somehow these projects just come back and say, hi, I'm still here. And I'm in Sri Lanka, I'm in New Zealand, and this is what happened. So the next project I did for Venice Biennale is called the Mending Project. And this project is, like I explained earlier, a very simple project. For 6 months, there's always a mender there. Sometimes myself, sometimes artists that I work with, so sometimes family member, they would be sitting there with needle and thread, waiting for anybody to arrive. It could be any of the people who visited the Venice Biennale. And if you have something for us to repair or to add embellishment, we're there for you. However, what we ask you to do is to sit in front of us and share the story of this piece of clothing or about yourself, about what you did this morning, something personal with us while we repair your clothes. It is tremendously important that you sit in front of us and tell us the story, because we want that connection with you, and hopefully this experience will be embedded and sew into your own memory of this encounter in Venice Biennale. I would say an unlikely encounter when you go to visit a Biennale. So this is me mending someone's clothes. I'm not the best mender. I hope this person will like what I did.
You are the Taiwanese artist that's been showing in many like international places, including Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York, MoMA, Whitney, and of course, in Europe, Pompidou. And what about Tate Modern? Can you tell us about that? And what about those museums? Do they collect your works?
Okay, thank you, Rudy. I think first of all, one of the reason I'm so lucky and to be able to show in these beautiful institutions is that of the great support of friendship collectors like yourself, and also the curators, the museum director, but also because of the Taiwanese ministry, just because they are one of the amazing people who say, Mingwei, you're a Taiwanese artist and we are here to support you. So I'm very, very grateful. This time with Tate Modern, I was supposed to do our labyrinth in the Turbine Hall for their 20th anniversary this year. But because of COVID-19, we have to postpone it until 2021. Fingers crossed that will happen. I am planning to bring at least 3 Taiwanese dancers to go to London and maybe do a little bit of 文化交流. Yeah, we shall see. I hope this will happen. In terms of collecting these type of work, it's very challenging. And again, I'm very lucky that, for example, Sonic Blossom is in the collection of Boston's Museum of Fine Arts, and the Art Labyrinth is in the Tate Modern collection. It is hugely challenging for institutions to collect something that really has no physical component to it in terms of a permanent collection, right? So the way I explain to these institutions is that when you collect this type of work, such as Sonic Blossom or Art Labyrinth, you should think of it in such a way that these are not just an art project. These are living art, live art. So they are, you could see it as that they are an exotic plant or flower that blossoms every 5 to 7 years for 21 days or for 31 days or whatever time is good in terms of the institutional schedule. So it will open, meaning it will be on for X number of days, and that's when the bees and butterflies will come and nourish. From the nurture from the plants will nourish these insects or people or the sentient beings. And after 21 days, the flower will go into hibernation and dormant state for the next 5 to 7 years. So it is a living thing, and you need to take care of it as a living thing and experience it, because this year of blooming is not going to be the same as 7 or 5 years from now. So once I explain in such a way, the collection opens it up and say, yes, we would like to collect a living artwork. And that's how these projects go into these major institutions. Thank you.
Wonderful. So can you tell us how do you keep on going, invited by international museum, and in the meantime, not really working with a commercial gallery?
Yes, thank you, Rudy. I'm very lucky. I basically create works that is meaningful for and satisfying for myself first. And the commercial aspect and the commercial value of it is really not in anywhere of the creation of the work. And luckily, because of artists such as Marina Abramovich or Joseph Beuys that created these amazing work in the 70s and 80s, that opens up the eyes of the museums that says, wow, this kind of work could work. I mean, these are artwork. That's what they're thinking. However, without these iconic predecessors, I think I would not be in such a wonderful place at this moment. So I'm very, very lucky here at this right time. And also, most importantly, is the support of my wonderful parents, who I started actually in the medicine. I wasn't an artist until about 30 years old. Since my grandmother and my father were all doctors in Taiwan, being the first child of a Taiwanese family, they really wanted me to continue the doctor's profession. So I did try, and I say, no, I don't really like this because whenever I see blood, I faint. That's not a good idea for a doctor. So I remember my parents just asked me, what would you like to do? I said, I would like to be an artist because that is a place that has no right or wrong answer. And in fact, you're being celebrated for being original and being the naughty one. So that fitted perfectly in terms of my personality. And I'm very grateful that my parents just say, okay, if this is your choice, you do whatever best you can and we'll support you whichever way we can. So, so emotionally, financially, and everything, they are 101% there. And even until today, when I'm 56 years old. So again, I'm one of the luckiest persons.
My last questions for you. We are still doing the COVID-19. We don't know when it will be finished. And as an artist practice, does this affecting you? And do you see in the future, is there any possibility or new format coming up, because of the COVID-19?
Mm-hmm. Good question, Rudy. I've seen quite a bit of change within the ecosystem of the art in general. Yeah, not only the artist and the gallery and the museum. So, for example, my presentation of Sonic of Art Labyrinth this time at the Met, it's all due to the COVID-19 restriction of no one there. So, for example, at Gropius Bao, when I did Sonic Blossom, we have to have a plexiglass in front of the singer. So the singers the receiver and the singers are protected from each other because of this plexiglass, for example. And also the next project in this space here, okay, we have the mending project. Again, we also have the plexiglass between us. For this project called the Fabric of Memory. Sorry, I'm forgetting a little bit. Fabric of Memory. We usually don't open the box like that, but because we try to prevent too much touching, so we open the box for people and then put the lid along the side so people could read it without touching it. Okay. And yeah, so there are alterations one needs to do. This is really the very minor thing. I know quite a few of my friends' show have been canceled and postponed indefinitely. So that is the most heartbreaking news for an artist that your show's supposed to be on, but it's all canceled now. Not only because the institution is going under or just the whole environment does not allow such experience. So hopefully we will be able to find some solution. And I know in Mandarin, the word crisis is 危机. So the first word way, as you know, is danger, and G is opportunity. So I try to see this as a real way. G, more of a G than way, hopefully.
Wonderful. Thank you for your time, and I think we are going to end up here. And stay safe, and we hope to see you very, very soon in Taipei.
Thank you all. Merci beaucoup. Très bientôt. Au revoir.
Au revoir.